Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, thousands of federal jobs on the chopping block as the government shutdown now enters its third week.
A federal judge today pumping the brakes, blocking President Trump's efforts to lay off those federal employees, ruling the president's layoffs are unlawful. The president then blaming Democrats for the shutdown and vowing to cut billions of dollars in funding for projects in Democrat-run cities. A potential landmark case before the Supreme Court. The justices hearing arguments over whether to strike down a key part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which allows race to play a factor in creating congressional districts. A ruling could drastically reshape Republican control of Congress, what the justices are signaling today. Also, growing tensions over immigration raids leading Los Angeles County to declare a state of emergency, usually reserved for natural disasters. President Trump expected to escalate his deployment of ICE agents and the National Guard to more major American cities after Tuesday's violent clash in Chicago when agents used tear gas on a crowd of protesters. Dramatic video showing Border Patrol agents chasing a driver, ramming the car in the middle of a city street. With expensive infrastructure projects needing the green light, can the U.S. ever catch up to the speedy and efficient train travel we see in Europe and Asia? Will the newest Acela trains on the East Coast help Amtrak even make a dent when it comes to high-speed rail networks? We talked to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who lays out his vision.
Why doesn't the U.S. have high-speed rail the way other countries do?
We have a lot of permitting issues. It's hard to get the permits to make that happen.
And a desperate search in a bone-chilling wilderness and an all-star cast. And that's what's exciting audiences about the new Apple TV Plus series, The Last Frontier. We sit down with lead actors Jason Clarke and Alfre Woodard, who give us the behind-the-scenes look. And they're a trio of Hollywood powerhouses, actors Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst, together marking decades of box office gold. Plus, director Derek Cianfrance, all joining forces to bring a stranger-than-fiction story to life in the feature film Roofman. Following the story of a dad-turned-convict, the three sat down with Prime anchor Linsey Davis in our new half-hour series, All Access with Linsey Davis.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening to you. I'm Janae Norman in for Linsey Davis tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. There are rising tensions over ICE raids. Los Angeles County today issuing a state of emergency. But we begin tonight with the Trump administration's new threat to fire thousands of federal workers during this government shutdown. Today in the Oval Office, day 15 of the shutdown, President Trump saying, quote, "We got the people that we want being paid. The president praising one of his top officials, Russell Vought, who himself and the White House said the White House will cut more than 10,000 federal jobs during the shutdown. 4,000 federal employees have already been fired since the government closed. That's in addition to all the workers laid off earlier this year. Tonight, a federal judge now temporarily blocking the firings. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott has more from the White House.
Tonight, after already firing more than 4,000 federal workers during the government shutdown, the Trump administration now saying that number will more than double.
I think we'll probably end up being north of 10,000.
The president saying he's going after programs dear to Democrats and the Americans who work on them.
They're going to be terminated on a permanent basis, and it's thousands of people, and it's billions of dollars.
But tonight, a federal judge ordering the administration to immediately halt the mass firings after multiple unions sued, calling the firings illegal, arbitrary, and capricious. The judge ordering the administration to provide information within 2 days on the people it has fired so far. It comes as hundreds of thousands of other workers are now missing paychecks as the shutdown drags on. The president has authorized extraordinary measures to pay the troops, and today said the FBI will get paid too.
We got the people that we want paid, okay? And we want the FBI paid, we want the military paid. We got the people that we want paid.
But workers like air traffic controllers charged with keeping passenger planes safe are out of luck.
Not knowing exactly how I'm going to have childcare for my kids or put gas in the car or pay the next mortgage payment adds a certain level of stress onto an already stressful profession. It's just very difficult.
Amid the shutdown, the president also facing questions today about at least 5 deadly military strikes he's ordered against boats off the coast of Venezuela that he says are being used to carry drugs into the U.S. Today, the president asked why this wouldn't be a traditional Coast Guard operation where officers can verify who's on the boat. The president saying the Coast Guard boats are too slow.
They have faster boats. Some of these boats are seriously, they're world-class speedboats. But they're not faster than missiles.
And tonight, the president suggesting land strikes in Venezuela could come next.
Are you considering strikes on land?
Well, I don't want to tell you exactly, but we are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control.
And Rachel joins us now from the White House. Rachel, back to the government shutdown. It looks like talks are still stalled between the two sides.
Yeah, Janae, this is the ultimate stalemate. Democrats over on Capitol Hill says that the White House has gone radio silent. Look, there was some talk about the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, going on live television to debate the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. But now Johnson says he will not do that until the government reopens. Johnson saying there is nothing to negotiate here. Meanwhile, the House is still out of town. They are out on recess. This government shutdown is dragging on, with some Republicans and Democrats warning this could be the longest one ever, Janae.
We will be watching. Our thanks to you, Rachel Scott. And as Rachel mentioned, the Pentagon says U.S. troops will not miss a paycheck despite the ongoing government shutdown. The military is redirecting $8 billion from existing research, development, and testing funds to cover payroll. In a statement, the Pentagon credited President Trump's directive for keeping military pay flowing, though some on Capitol Hill question whether the move is legally allowed. Troops could get paid again on November 1st. And tonight, President Trump is expected to escalate his deployment of ICE agents and the National Guard to more major American cities. Los Angeles County has now declared a state of emergency over raids there. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, tensions rising as the Trump administration's sweeping immigration crackdown expands. In the last 24 hours, federal agents clashing with residents in Chicago. As some protesters threw objects, federal agents deployed tear gas on crowds, angry about the latest arrest that ended with a crash in their neighborhood. Illinois' governor, who's repeatedly said he did not ask for federal help, accusing immigration agents of using strong-arm tactics.
They're the ones who are tossing tear gas when people are peacefully protesting. They need to back off.
Homeland Security officials say it all began with agents chasing an undocumented migrant who they say had rammed a Border Patrol vehicle. Agents then crashing into the vehicle to stop it. New video shows that the chase then spilling over into a Walgreens, where 19-year-old Warren King says he was shopping. He says when he tried to leave the store, he was tackled.
He's a citizen! He's a citizen! You don't know what's going on, so get the back!
He was just saying, why you running? I'm telling him I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm here. I'm legal. I'm born here. So they didn't try to hear none of that, though.
Community leaders today blasting federal agents.
Not only undocumented people are being targeted, but also people of color are being racially profiled by these unjust actions.
And today, the Chicago woman who was shot by federal agents after allegedly ramming her car into their vehicle, today pleading not guilty to assault. Mara Martinez seen in this video in the moments leading up to that alleged ramming. Prosecutors say she was part of a convoy tailing those agents.
And Pierre joins us now. Pierre, what are officials saying about this state of emergency in LA County?
On the side of increasing tensions, LA officials are declaring a state of emergency, saying they will offer undocumented migrants financial and legal support as this deportation campaign expands, Janae.
All right, Pierre Thomas, our thanks to you.
Pleasure.
And now to a potential landmark case before the Supreme Court. The justice is hearing arguments over whether to strike down a key part of the Voting Rights Act, which allows race to be a factor in creating congressional districts. The ruling could drastically reshape Republican control of Congress. Here's senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer.
Tonight, in a case with nationwide implications for American elections, the Supreme Court seemingly ready to limit a key part of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 of the act has long been a guardrail against states diluting the influence of voters of color by packing them into districts or breaking communities apart. When a court found Louisiana's map violated Section 2, the state redrew the map with an eye on race to create a second majority black district. A group of non-black voters sued, arguing that was unconstitutional. The court's conservative majority today appeared sympathetic, Justice Brett Kavanaugh voicing concern about the indefinite use of of race to draw maps.
This court's cases in a variety of contexts have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint.
But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pushed back on the notion of time limits, insisting Congress wanted Section 2 to be a lasting tool.
It doesn't need a time limit because it's not doing any work other than just pointing us to the direction of where we might need to do something.
Janae, the bottom line tonight, if the Supreme Court decides to limit the use of race as a factor in redistricting or declare it unconstitutional altogether, that could influence how minority communities are represented in Congress and ultimately the balance of power. Janae?
All right, our thanks to Devin Dwyer tonight. Turning overseas, the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is showing signs of strain tonight. President Trump says he may tell Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to resume military operations in Gaza if Hamas violates the ceasefire. Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell reports now from Jerusalem.
Tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Video verified by ABC News appears to show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets. Late today at the White House, President Trump warning if Hamas doesn't choose to disarm, the U.S. will make them.
They've agreed to do it. Now they have to do it. And if they don't do it, we'll do it.
Tonight, despite those alarming images, Hamas insisting it will honour the peace deal and return the dead hostages, according to US advisers. Late today, the militants handing over 2 more bodies to Israel, but the Israelis accusing Hamas of stalling. The president telling CNN Israel can restart the war as soon as I say the word if Hamas doesn't uphold the peace deal. In Israel tonight, new images of those tearful reunions of the last living hostages freed. Brothers Ariel and David Cunyo back with their family. Their mother Sylvia saying, "My children are home. I can finally breathe." And in Gaza, Palestinians like Odeh Al-Dalu returning to his neighborhood, now a wasteland. There are no words to describe the feeling, a tragedy, a new kind of suffering.
Ian Pannell joins us now from Jerusalem. Ian, what are U.S. officials saying about the prospects of this deal holding?
Janae, I think it's worth just looking at where the pressure points. There are essentially 2 right now. One is over the return of the deceased hostages. At the moment, far fewer have been returned than certainly the families or Israel expected. There were 28 and only a handful have been returned. And the other is on the question of Hamas disarming, especially with this video emerging online showing a public execution that has been attributed to Hamas gunmen inside Gaza. Nevertheless, despite these key pressure points, and I think the lack of detail on key points in the original peace agreement, tonight a senior US advisor is saying that they do still believe that Hamas intends to honor the agreement, but make no mistake, it's very, very tense right now. Janae?
Ian Pannell in Jerusalem tonight. Our thanks to you. As Prime has reported, there is bad news for car buyers. The average cost of a new vehicle is now at an all-time high, more than $50,000. Our Matt Rivers reports on what we're learning tonight.
Tonight, it's never been more expensive to buy a new car. According to a report from Kelley Blue Book, the average price for a new vehicle has cracked the $50,000 mark for the first time ever.
It's shocking.
I think it's obscene.
And that's just what people paid. The average asking price, the MSRP for 2026 models, is even higher, more than $52,000. Talk about sticker shock. The study's authors writing, it was only a matter of time, especially when you consider the best-selling vehicle in America is a pickup truck from Ford that routinely costs north of $65,000. The report says the average price for a new Tesla is $54,138. Tonight, economists say tariffs on autos and key auto parts are a factor. Also factors a rush to buy electric vehicles before tax breaks expire in September because of President Trump's big, beautiful bill that eliminates them. And lastly, experts say the families that can afford new cars are often the ones who can afford expensive cars, driving that average cost higher.
Just the fact that sales are being shifted towards more luxury and higher end vehicles is similar to this situation we're seeing just about everywhere in the economy.
And experts say consumers looking to used cars to save money are also out of luck.
When I looked up the cost of a 2021 Nissan Sentra versus a brand new one, the cost difference is roughly $1,000. So what is the better value?
And Janae, it's really interesting that electric vehicle sales are also driving some of this, raising up the average price of a car. There was a real race for many to go out and get an electric vehicle before those tax breaks expired. Many families rushing out to get theirs. Janae?
Matt Rivers, our thanks to you. Democrats on Capitol Hill are ramping up the pressure to seat Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. Several dozen House Democrats marched to Speaker Johnson's office last night, demanding the Arizona Democrat be sworn in. A Capitol police officer briefly tried to stop lawmakers from entering, but backed off. Speaker Johnson was not there at the time. Grijalva cruised to a landslide victory a few weeks ago in a special election to succeed her late father. She's since been in and around the Capitol waiting to be sworn in, but Speaker Johnson has refused to do so until the government reopens. Democrats insist the speaker's delay tactics are actually about Jeffrey Epstein. Once she's seated, Grijalva is expected to be the final signature needed to force a House vote to release the Justice Department's files on the billionaire sex trafficker who died in prison in 2019. Representative-elect Grijalva joins me now. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. Break it down for us. What makes you believe that this is all about Jeffrey Epstein?
So there were 3 other members of Congress that were sworn in special elections, same situation, and they were sworn in under 24 hours from the date of their election, so the very next day. And 2 of those members of Congress were from Florida. They won their election on April 1st, 2 Republicans, and were sworn in a pro forma session in under 24 hours later the next day. And so when you look at the situation that we're in now, we've had several pro forma sessions. I could have been sworn in very easily. And the delay taxes and the excuses just keep changing. And so at this point, I am the 218th signer to the discharge petitions to release the Epstein files. And that seems to be the common denominator in why there is delay and obstruction in swearing me in.
So why do you think Speaker Johnson wants to delay those files?
Well, I think there are implications to who is in those files, what they've done, what crimes they've committed. And really, the biggest tell is that Trump, this was one of the issues that he ran on. On day 1, he was going to release the Epstein files. And then I think that they got a gander as to what was in those files and have since backtracked, have actually ended votes early here in Congress to avoid this vote. And it's just a lot of delay tactics to protect people who've committed sexual assault on children and women.
And so the government shutdown is entering its 3rd week. Can you tell us where you stand? Do you support not reopening unless the Obamacare subsidies are extended, as Democrats insist at this point?
It is life-saving care. And in Arizona, 1 in 5 children, our babies, are going to lose health care. The vast majority of people that are going to be devastatingly impacted are people that are women and children. And so we have to fight for them. And this is an issue that is across the nation. This is not something that is specific to Democrats, but Democrats are holding the line here because it is this access to healthcare that is going to make a difference for so many people.
So I have to ask you, how long are you prepared to let that play out because of the unique position that you're in? You just said we have to fight for them. You're not able to be sworn in to help the fight.
But the problem is that none of us in this position are able to work. Democrats have been here every week that Republicans have been MIA. There is not a Republican in the hallways here. I haven't seen anyone on the House floor walking around the area. All the doors are locked. And so Democrats are here ready to work and negotiate. And I think that that's what's different in this case. Speaker Johnson not calling us back is making it increasingly difficult for there to be a negotiation. The Senate has already voted down this proposal, this CR, clean CR. They've voted it down 8 times already. This is the opportunity that we have to do something positive in a bipartisan way for the American people, and Republicans are not home.
Representative-elect Grijalva, thank you so much for your time and for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
And other news we're following tonight, a suspect has been arrested in the disappearance of a 23-year-old Philadelphia woman. Kata Scott was last seen October 4th. Authorities say she reported being harassed by an unknown person. The suspect, Keon King, is being charged with kidnapping. Authorities also located his car, which they say contained physical evidence from Scott, but she has still not been found. And here in New York, chilling allegations against a prominent surgeon accused of raping a woman at gunpoint in his apartment. Prosecutors say the alleged victim came to him for career advice. Here's Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, a prominent New York City surgeon is charged with a horrific crime, sexually assaulting a woman at gunpoint. Authorities say that doctor claiming affiliation with the NYPD, the U.S. Secret Service, and the U.S. Marshals. 56-year-old Dr. Maurizio Miglietta teaches and practices at hospitals across New York and New Jersey. Prosecutors say the accuser, who's nearly 30 years younger, viewed Miglietta as a mentor and visited his apartment in June to talk medicine. Instead, prosecutors say Miglietta kissed her without consent, and when she tried to push him away, he lifted his shirt, showing her a holstered gun, allegedly telling her, "Watch out for this," saying she asked if the gun was loaded. He allegedly said yes. Prosecutors say the doctor then put the gun on a coffee table by the woman's head and sexually assaulted her before she was able to escape.
The allegations are beyond disturbing. I think anyone should know not to engage in this type of conduct, but I think it speaks to the power imbalance.
The doctor pleaded not guilty to rape and other charges, the judge setting bail at $1 million. Janae, prosecutors are now looking into his connections with law enforcement, but as the district attorney told us, that gives no one license to brandish a gun and force a woman into sex. Janae?
Our thanks to Aaron Katursky. We're tracking several headlines around the world. A volcano in Indonesia, Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki, erupted today, sending a massive plume of ash as far as 6 miles into the sky. The country's volcanic agency raised an alert to its highest level and evacuated nearby villages. Thick ash blanketed homes and farmland, forcing farmers to halt work. The volcano has been quite active of late, erupting in both July and August. Tensions remain high along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, where crossings are still closed after days of deadly clashes. Both countries have agreed to a 48-hour ceasefire following airstrikes and ground fighting that killed more than a dozen civilians and left many others injured. Pope Leo received a purebred Arabian horse as a gift from a Polish donor. The donor presented the horse ahead of the Pope's weekly general audience. The Vatican says the donor was inspired after seeing a photo of the Pope on horseback during a past visit to Peru, where the Pope once served as a missionary. President Trump is threatening to pull next year's World Cup matches from suburban Boston. The president claims parts of Boston have been taken over by unrest after so-called street takeovers earlier this month that resulted in a police cruiser being destroyed by fire. The games are set for Foxborough, home of the New England Patriots. As the U.S. co-hosts the 2026 tournament, Trump has previously suggested he could declare cities, quote, not safe for the 104-game soccer tournament, though FIFA, not the White House, has final say on host cities. Tonight, a first in the history of Mount Everest. American Jim Morrison has become the first person to ski down the hardest route on the treacherous north face of the world's highest peak. A crew led by filmmaker Jimmy Chin followed Morrison as he made his descent. You can see more in the upcoming National Geographic documentary Everest North and on nationalgeographic.com. Very cool. Still coming up here tonight, new high-speed trains have recently hit the tracks on the East Coast, but the U.S. is still far behind the rest of the world when it comes to train transit. So what's causing the lag, and is there any catching up in sight? Plus, a former NFL star's public plea in hopes of finding a new kidney. But first, President Trump sees a window of opportunity to block federal funding for some cities during the ongoing government shutdown. What cities are impacted and what exactly is at stake? By the numbers. Welcome back. Thank you for streaming with us. President Trump has seized on the stalemate over the government shutdown to block billions in federal funding. So who and what are hardest hit? Let's go inside by the numbers. The cuts impact more than 200 projects across the country. According to an analysis by the New York Times, the White House is targeting Democratic-led cities and states. More than $27 billion in funding meant for Democratic districts has been frozen or canceled. In Republican districts, it's just a fraction of that, less than $750 $1 billion. Commuters in New York City and Chicago, well, they will sure feel some pain. The White House has halted the delivery of more than $20 billion marked for train and subway upgrades. The administration says it won't release the money until it's sure the city didn't make any hiring decisions based on race, diversity, or inclusion. Clean energy is another big target. 2 days into the shutdown, the administration said it would end roughly $7.6 billion in funding meant to prevent power outages, modernize energy grids, and invest in new energy sources. The cuts affected 16 states. 14 of those states are Democrat-led. During the shutdown, the White House has cut 4,000 workers across 8 agencies. That's in addition to all the federal employees laid off earlier this year. And President Trump has said he's not done yet. He's promising to release a list on Friday of, quote, Democratic programs slated for cuts if the government remains closed, and says that some may never open again. Still coming up here tonight, a major airline wants to start charging passengers to recline their seats. Details in the rundown. Plus, a reality check on rails. Why the U.S. is so far behind when it comes to high-speed train travel, and what we need to do if we ever want to catch up. That's up next. Welcome back. Amtrak is basking in the afterglow of a major advancement, the launch of a new fleet of Acela trains, and now racing up and down one of the busiest lines in the country. But even though they are the fastest trains here in the U.S., the so-called next-gen trains still don't compare the train transit available in Europe and beyond. So why is the U.S. so far behind? Our Jay O'Brien went right to the U.S. Transportation Secretary to find out. And tonight's prime focus.
Serena Sharma is what they call a supercommuter. She lives in Philadelphia and takes the train an hour and a half both ways, often 3 days a week, to her job in New York City.
If you can get New York pay but live in Philly, it's kind of the best of both worlds, and ultimately you're just paying the cost of commuting.
Good for Serena's bottom line, but hard on her schedule.
I'm pretty much gone 12 plus hours.
And that's despite the fact that Serena is traveling on the second fastest train Amtrak, the national commuter rail company in the U.S., has to offer. Operating on its most popular line, the Northeast Corridor from Washington, D.C. to Boston. Those Northeast regional trains top out at 125 miles an hour. Amtrak's fastest train, the Acela, isn't much quicker with a top speed of 150 miles an hour.
I think I'm just probably going to stick to my typical train.
One of the nearly 39 million people served by Amtrak last year, Serena says her experience has been largely positive. But like so many Americans, she's also craving a faster option.
In terms of experience on Amtrak, probably just speed would really help.
It's no secret the U.S. is behind the rest of the world in train travel. Eurostar brings passengers back and forth between London and Paris in just under 2 hours. Japan's Shinkansen, often called bullet trains, now crisscross the country. And China has multiple trains that routinely top 200 miles an hour.
I mean, it certainly looks new. Wow.
We wanted to find out why the U.S. is so behind, a question that brought us here. The launch of what Amtrak says will kick off a new era of American train travel, the next-gen Acela trains. Brand new, still with that new train smell. Built to be the fastest in Amtrak's arsenal, topping out at 160 miles an hour, just 10 miles an hour faster than its predecessor. And there's another catch. Yes, these are the fastest trains in the country, but they can only go their top speed on a small percentage of the route due to twists and turns, aging infrastructure, and 7 commuter rail lines that run along the same corridor.
It is brand new.
Roger Harris is Amtrak's CEO.
Is that frustrating to have kind of only a few pockets where it can go up to its top speed?
Yeah, it absolutely is. What we focus on is making sure the train goes as fast as possible where it's safe to do so and where the infrastructure allows it.
Is there a way to make it and other trains like it go faster to try to change some of that infrastructure?
Well, it takes investment. It takes investment in the track infrastructure, in the electrification, the wires above the train, and also the signal systems that control when the trains can leave and how fast they can go, etc.
Amtrak says it's already starting on some improvements, many long overdue.
The Northeast Corridor has about 1,000 bridges. It has lots of tunnels. It has some bridges that moved for ships to navigate. So much of that has to get upgraded.
And that could be expensive. The vast majority of Amtrak's operating costs come from its revenue rather than federal funding, but taxpayers often help pay for the infrastructure that helps Amtrak's trains run, like a recent $22 billion investment over 5 years in President Biden's infrastructure law. But can the U.S. ever catch up to much of the rest of the world in high-speed rail? We pressed Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
Why doesn't the U.S. have high-speed rail the way other countries do?
We have a lot of permitting issues. It's hard to get the permits to make that happen.
So is it even possible?
Listen, anything is possible. I'm sick of spending big money without the deliverable. We're willing to make the investments to make sure we get high-speed rail, but we got to deliver it for the American people, and that project hasn't come out yet.
Since the start of President Trump's second term, Duffy's Department of Transportation cut funding to at least 2 high-speed rail projects, one in California that's years behind and billions over budget, and another in Texas.
It hasn't been a priority. We've put more money into aviation and into highways because that's part of our culture. Our culture is spread out, not live in compact metropolitan areas, instead relying upon our car.
One rare American high-speed success story is in Florida. Brightline connects Miami and Orlando with a train reaching speeds up to 125 miles an hour. They're planning an even faster line to connect Southern California to Las Vegas by 2028.
It's a private company, but they also teamed up with the company that owns the freight line. So they didn't have to build their own tracks between Miami and Orlando, and that saved them a lot of money.
But back in the Northeast, Amtrak isn't so lucky.
I would love if we could have a high-speed rail from D.C. to Philly, Philly on to New York, and then New York on to Boston. That would be great. But again, there's a lot of problems that come into play with states and communities. They don't want to be cut off the track. You're dealing with private property owners. Some states may not want to participate with us, so the issues become very complex.
Amtrak will tell you it's not just the speed of the trains, it's also about comfort, too.
They're beautiful, right? I mean, they're gorgeous trains.
What they call the next generation of rail travel here in the U.S. looks a lot like the first generation, but the seats are newer, they're ergonomic, there's higher speed Wi-Fi. The train is, of course, brand new, and it has a better tilt system than the previous trains, which Amtrak says is going to lead to a smoother ride because it compensates for the curves in the track better than the previous trains did.
In the first upgrade these trains have seen in 25 years, Amtrak is also increasing the number of seats, and that added capacity, they say, will help bring down prices of train tickets that routinely cost more than flying. Welcome news for those like Serena.
If there was a faster train or a fast rail line, I think it would really benefit and cut down the amount of time I spend going in.
But speed remains the biggest challenge. And at least for now, these new Acela trains are the best this country has. Not the future, but our future. And some hope a symbol that American railroad investment is slowly coming back.
America, at one point in time, was in love with the railroads, and the railroads helped build this country. And technology kind of moved on to flying and private automobiles. But what's happened is, as the country's grown and we've had to build more infrastructure for those forms of transportation, rail has kind of resurged in people's realization that it's actually an efficient answer for certain situations, right?
And now you got to catch up.
We got to catch up.
And our thanks to Jay O'Brien. So coming up here, a former NFL star makes a plea to his fans and the public alike in a bid to find a kidney donor. Plus a plane crash, violent inmates on the run, and authorities in a desperate position. Tonight, our sit down with the stars of the heart-pounding new series, The Last Frontier. Well, if you want to recline your seat while in the sky, one airline is going to make customers pay for that. A former NFL star is making a public plea to fans in hopes of finding a new kidney. And the mascot that became the first to score a sweet NIL deal. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. Canadian-based airline WestJet is rolling out a newly redesigned cabin, but don't expect to be able to lean your seat back for free. The airline announced that they're removing reclining seats from the standard economy sections of their planes and making recliner seats only available in premium cabins and extended comfort sections. WestJet says they're able to fit an extra row of seats on each plane by reducing the number of reclining seats. Former New York Jets center Nick Mangold went public with his need for a kidney transplant, even asking the public to consider donating. The All-Pro offensive lineman revealed he's been battling chronic kidney disease since a 2006 diagnosis for a rare genetic disorder and has been searching for a donor with type O blood. Mangold was a first-round pick out of Ohio State back in 2006 and quickly became one of the most popular Jets of this generation, spending his entire 11-season career with the New York franchise. Diane Keaton's films will play in theaters nationwide following the beloved actress's death at age 79. AMC Theaters will screen two classic Keaton movies, Annie Hall and Something's Gotta Give, at select theaters starting October 17th. That's according to a Facebook post from the company. The films will hit 100 theaters across the country for a one-week run. The World Meteorological Organization says carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere hit record highs last year, according to their annual study. The UN agency said the heat-trapping gas is turbocharging the Earth's climate and causing more extreme weather, while raising doubts that the world is able to keep global average temperature increases to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The UN climate chief says planet Earth is now on track for 3 degrees Celsius in average temperature increases. Ahead of its 25th anniversary, Microsoft is launching its first ever handheld Xbox devices. ABC News got an inside look at the new device that allows gamers to play their favorite Xbox and PC games on the go. While pre-orders have sold out in some places, the company says it will have devices available on launch day and stock coming in consistently through the holidays. And Otto the Orange became the first college mascot to sign a name, image, likeness deal in the NCAA. The beloved Syracuse University mascot inked the deal during a press conference while receiving one of the first throwback jerseys that are on sale through the NIL store. Otto has been a fixture at Syracuse games since the early 80s and was inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame in 2023. A desperate search, a chilling wilderness, and an all-star cast. Our Linsey Davis sat down with the lead actors Jason Clarke and Alfre Woodard behind the thrilling new Apple TV Plus series, The Last Frontier.
When a prison transport plane crashes into remote wilderness, setting dozens of violent inmates free, a U.S. Marshal is caught in a brutal manhunt, and a high-ranking official is forced to weigh politics and loyalty against survival. At Apple TV Plus's newest series, The Last Frontier, two powerhouse performances anchor the chaos with grit and intensity. Let's take a look.
We have a down plane 2 miles south from here. It is used to move inmates around the country. 11 are captured, 18 still missing.
Do whatever it takes to secure the perimeter.
Schofield, this is Alaska. There is no perimeter.
We are joined now by Alfre Woodard and Jason Clarke. So great to have you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good. Thank you.
It's exciting to meet you, Linsey.
Oh, it is so fabulous to meet you both.
The way you introduced that, it sounded like it was breaking news.
Oh, really?
We have.
Really?
No, it was fantastic. I love it.
I was trying to do my movie voice.
No,
like,
but you give an immediacy to it. No, I was going to say you'd be great on set. You roll that out and bang it out like damn.
Oddly, I'm a terrible actress.
I don't
horrible.
know. You gave that. You were straight into it without a flinch.
I'll leave it to you guys. And what drew you to this role? Because this series does not hold back right from the beginning. It's intense. It's action-packed.
It is. I mean, that's exactly it. You know, you got to think, how am I going to spend 8 months? What do I like to watch? What entertains me? Is this going to grip me and hold me as an actor? As a performer, you know, and this one does. It does not stop. I mean, its level of ambition, you know, was ginormous, and we went after it, didn't we? And then she came after me.
Wow. Once he was there, you said, "I'm sold."
She did. She came after me big time.
What drew you to the role?
What drew me, first of all, was John Bokenkamp's name. When they said John Bokenkamp has a project and he's offering you don't have to turn cartwheels, he's offering you this.
You're at
this
that point
role.
in your career.
Yes, right.
You are.
I know, all you have to do is just don't go away, and eventually they'll like, okay. But anyway, it was written as a man, supposedly older, crusty old man, and
we got rid of that pretty straight up. There was no way cross was going to happen with this woman.
But I love when things are written for a male and I'm offered them because it allows you the ability just to find the character. But I always say, don't change a word and I'll do it. So I was attracted for that. And I tell you, I was saying, yes, yes. And my rep said, read it first. I said, I'll do it, whatever.
Oh, you were sold.
But I picked it up and I use Pages. I can't manage screens. I can't feel things from the screen. I was flipping and saying things like, oh, shite, when, it's just like, oh. Yeah. And that's what happens in it. It starts and it goes. It doesn't let go for 10 episodes.
You kind of forget to inhale, exhale every once
hopefully
in a
you reach
while.
the end and it's just like boom. It's just like,
Jason, of course, you've played very intense, layered characters before, whether it was Terminator or Jerry West. How many muscles did you have to stretch now playing a U.S. Marshal?
My Gene Hackman muscles. I saw this. I thought, it's Con Air, but I also thought French Connection. I thought Gene Hackman, Jimmy Stewart. It was wonderful to be at the center of a storm. You know what I mean? When I read it the first time, I thought it was Con Air meets No Country for Old Men.
You all have such great chemistry. Have you worked together before?
There's two people in my life that stand up in a trailer, and the first one was Michael Caine, and the second one is this woman. Her life and her engagement in life is just a pleasure. It warms you up to get ready to work, and it brings you down at the end of the day. I'm telling you, I love your life, and I love your
It comes
attraction
across
to it.
just sitting in the room with you all.
Yeah.
With regard to this series in particular, is there a takeaway that you'd like the viewers to kind of resonate ultimately?
Just to get after life. You have a wild action thriller essentially, but at the center is a heart of family and of community. And it is the things that bind us that are ultimately worthwhile. And as exciting as this is, it's bound by community.
Jason Clarke Alfre Woodard, what a pleasure to have you both on the show.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we should all.
I think we need to audition you. I think you need to audition.
Yes.
You kicked it off very strong and in breaking news tonight.
I was the kid on the stage, like looking out in the audience for my parents. I'm horrible. I'm horrible. You will not want to miss The Last Frontier, streaming exclusively on Apple TV Plus.
What a fun conversation. Our thanks to Linsey for that. They are a trio of Hollywood powerhouses, actors Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst, who together have marked decades in the industry, plus director Derek Cianfrance, are all joining forces to bring a stranger-than-fiction story to life on screen. Roofman follows the story of a dad-turned-convict. The three sat down with our Linsey Davis. Check it out.
Channing and Kirsten, question for both of you. Is it harder to play a character who's real? Is it harder when there's actually somebody who's going to watch? And because obviously Foxcatcher 2014, you played Mark Schultz as well, Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
He was there every day on set, it sounds like.
I didn't get to actually meet him in person. I only had, 2.5 months of like 15-minute phone calls. And like I said, I genuinely ended up loving this person and really liking him. And I just was like, look, this is gonna be it's gonna be you and what you did in like the actual events and how you did them, and my interpretation of whatever I'm getting from you on this phone call. And then, but it's really gonna be me and Derek and you kind of creating something that is going to be hopefully a beautiful story that will feel like it has the notes and the themes of like what we want people to know about you and what we got from you. And he's so smart and so like savvy. He loves movies. He understands, like, you can't tell somebody's real true story in 90 minutes. It's not possible. And so we just hope that we got the heart and the essence of him.
How about for you, Kirsten? Is it more difficult to play a real life person?
With Lee, it was more for me because I don't look like her necessarily, but I wanted to, get the North Carolina accent right. And for me, it was really the essence of like what she emanates that was important to me, and to play her in a way that felt very real to women and mothers and people who would be in this situation, which is not very likely, but I didn't want it to ever feel like you were watching someone and saying, what are you doing, girl? Like, why are you, not following your instincts? But so Lee saw the movie and she really, really was moved by it and seemed really happy with everything. So that's
and with you.
Yeah, it's hard to say that about yourself though. She
loved me.
But yeah, I know. It's like, well, she really liked my performance. We're good.
That is our show for this hour. I'm Janae Norman in for our Linsey Davis. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you for streaming with us tonight.